What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So we just had our set championships. My son's actually recording a video that'll be up later in the week on his experience, but we got it done. We got our Ursula, and we did it playing an off-meta deck. Well, we technically played that little squirrel that we all love to hate, but we did it with a slightly different engine. Our one-drops we were playing just the Diablo Maleficent Spy. Different engine, he says. 3 Bucky, and also 3 Ursula. That's our 1, 2, and 3, our 1s and 2 characters. And I swear the deck is different, although this might look pretty normal. Obviously, you didn't see Robin Hood, so naturally, we can't be on the Steel engine, right? Well, we also played 3 Diablos. Again, big shocker. You want to be able to hit their songs with your Ursula. We're playing Bucky, you're going to play Bucky, and turn 2 Bucky Shift Diablo is just too good to not play it. So how does the deck differ? Where does it get different? And why? So in the other 3-drop spot, we played 2 Olafs. Yes, we went Sapphire, Emerald. And I did this, played the Olaf because this way we were playing 6 3-drop Floodborns. I think I was on 22 total, I want to say, in the deck. But we played 6 3-drop Floodborns, which I felt like is a pretty safe number to be on. In addition to that, the 2 questing with 4 willpower was really good, or would be really good into those slower matchups when you want to be aggressive and close the game out quicker. So he's a multi-questing threat on turn 3 that also forces a discard. Sometimes, especially versus aggro decks, Sapphire decks may fall behind. So Kit Cloud Kicker was a way to help mitigate that, testing against my son, who was playing Lemon Lime Hyper Aggro. He was absolutely wrecking me because he would get too far ahead before I could even get characters down on board, which led to me putting Kit in. And if Bucky wasn't getting errated so hard, nerfed, killed, maybe I'd mess with the deck more, but I'm probably not going to just because I don't have any big events left before the nerf of Bucky. So I'm probably just going to start looking into set 5 and playing other fun ideas for the rest of set 4. But if you want to invest into this idea, if you have set championships up still, I would definitely consider playing a 3rd or 4th kit. It's not a Floodborn, but kind of hits the curve weird. But sometimes it's nice, even like against Ruby Amethyst, if they go the frenemy route, because this deck definitely can struggle against aggressive decks. I think the Ruby Amethyst matchup is actually pretty favorable. I think Ruby Sapphire is pretty favorable. Other Sapphire matchups I think are all right because you can discard them pretty crazy. I think Bucky's a toss-up. And yeah, Steel Song's tough. Other aggro decks can be tough. But Kit Cloud Kicker was really, really good today, so I'd consider playing more at least. In addition to Diablo, we also have 3 Donald Ducks as draw power on 4, and we also played 2 Flynn Riders, so we played 5 4-cost Floodborns. Flynn Rider is just insane. My final match versus Tempo, this card was just absolutely crazy. In Swiss, I ended up getting both of these out and just getting rid of his hand. He got into a position where he had Castle and Ursula Deceiver of All on board, and he was thinking about it really hard. So I figured it was Friends in hand, and I had the Exerted Diablo, and I was way ahead on game state, though, so he pretty much had to do it, even though I was going to draw 4 with him. Unfortunately, I drew into Little Ursula, 2 Diablos, and I had a song in hand, so on my turn I came back with Diablo, Ursula, Shift Diablo, and made him discard 3 of those 4 cards anyway. Felt kind of bad, but at the end of the day, that's what my deck's trying to do. So another big thing that Sapphire has going for it, right, for why we decided to go this route, I mean, it was unexpected, and at this point, quite frankly, I didn't care if I won in Ursula. I just wanted to have fun at the event, bring my kid to the event, and just enjoy myself. So Cogsworth and Aurora. The 5-drop Floodborn spots in this deck were just crazy. Aurora is your answer to Ruby, especially if you get 2 of her out. Her ward, giving everything ward, is just really strong. She doesn't give herself ward, though, so if they like Medusa this, they can brawl something else, but it gives you a turn ahead at least. Likewise, Cogsworth into the Steel matchups, really strong. Especially, again, if you get out 2, it turns off most of the steel stuff, like Grab Your Swords does nothing. Storm Rage On does nothing. They can use it on Cogsworth and deal 1 at that point if you only have 2 out. So, because he doesn't give himself resist 1, gives everything else resist 1. So if you get out 2, they each have resist 1. Everything else is resist 2. So he's kind of the answer for steel, which is, I don't know if you're under a rock or not, but steel's pretty good right now, as is ruby. Pretty much every deck is playing steel or ruby for the most part. So these are the answers to that. You kind of dictate which route you want to go based on it. And even versus aggro, like Cogsworth is really nice because being able to like just double up your get Cogsworth out. And I was actually using Bucky into aggro decks versus my kid. And I took out like Merfolk and he had Flynn on board, but with Cogsworth, Flynn wouldn't do anything to Bucky. Likewise, like Lilo, like can't do anything to Bucky. So just being able to give that resist and actually just challenging into their board and not taking damage, whether it's Bucky or your Diablo. Like Diablo surviving a crash into Diablo is really strong. So you get Cogsworth out, and then you can Diablo crash into their Diablo, kill theirs, but yours survives because the resist won. So these 2 cards are just absolutely crazy. They're pretty much the whole reason why this deck works. In addition, we are playing Cloud Kicker, the Navigator. He also has Ward, Quest for 3, 5 willpower, so pretty strong. Does die to, I guess what does he die to? Because, you know, he has Ward, so a lot of that stuff targets him. I guess he doesn't die to a whole lot. He's pretty good. It's a great follow-up, too, for slowing them down. If you can hit your Bucky line with, you fail off on 3 to play your Kit Tough Guy, and then you come back with this on 4, it just feels really good, puts you far ahead. Pretty strong. If he had 3 attack, he'd be just absolutely broken. 2 attacks okay though. I put him in because we were playing other things. I'm like, okay, I want to pull that out. We tried out Prince Philip and Morph, and that's what I put the kits in for instead of the 3 Morph 2 Philip. Because Prince Philip, it just felt really bad if you didn't have Morph, and you're paying 9 for 1 card just was not economical at all or worth it at all. 2 Gastons. Questing for 3, 4 attack. Really important too because like the frenemy line, Maui has more attack, but other than that, he like matches everything, so you can turn off frenemies. But also being able to look at the top 3 cards to hit stuff, to hit the cards you need was really good. So I felt like the deck has Diablo for draw, your Donald Duck for draw, Gaston to look at the top 3. Other things we played 4 Popsicle, so you get to draw a card that way. We played 4 Develop Your Brain, so you can look for a card that way. And these cards help too, because one big thing like Emerald Steel has not going for it, it seems like it's very difficult to win if you don't see Bucky. It's not impossible, and there's play lines, and if you hit your right cards, it's good, right? But if you don't hit Bucky, and especially if you're trying to cater your hand to it and you miss it, it feels really bad. So for me, if I miss Bucky and I have like especially Develop Your Brain, and I still miss Bucky after the mulligan, I get to look at 2 more cards on 1, and I still get a draw on turn 2. So I get to look at 3 cards before instead of just 1. So just odds of getting to Bucky or getting to that Floodborn after Bucky that you need were a lot better at that point. Also top decking this late, especially with ramp, you play it, you get your next card essentially. And it really, really helps the consistency of the deck there. 1 jump ahead. I originally played 4, but I was just seeing it late game too much. And I'm not usually mulliganing for the ramp. The ramp's just kind of there. How far I'll go also helping to get you cards you need, because you get to look at the top 2. Obviously, 1 goes to your hand, 1 goes to your Inkwell. Felt super, super strong. I don't know if I'd play like 1 jump, potentially play something else. It's just trying to find a ramp card that fits the curve well, because I don't know if we replace our hand good enough for Fishbone Quill. I thought about the Great Stone Dragon for your characters at least. It just feels bad playing it on 3, and you almost want to play it later, and then the ramp's pushed off pretty far. How far I'll go though is just crazy. Like you play your other Floodborns, and then you just have them like sing this, or if you have to and you don't have a different play line for it, like on 2 you 1 jump ahead, on 3 you how far I'll go, and then you get to 5 ink on turn 3, and it just feels really good getting that far ahead. So the deck kind of struggles, I guess, with removal. So we did play 4 Brunos and also 3 Let It Goes as our removal options. Other things I guess we could do, depending on what you take out, you know, Hades, but it's not a Floodborn and it's a 7 cost. So I didn't really want to invest into the top end of the deck that way, especially being uninkable. But overall, I was actually really, really happy with the deck. It can go fast too. And like if you hit a little bit of the ramp and like with Bucky, you don't need double Bucky to discard them hard. Because if you can get to 8 ink pretty quickly, usually by like turn 6. And then so like turn 6, you're double discarding them even if you don't have the Bucky. Or if you do have the second Bucky, you're hitting them for like 3 or 4. Like you just empty your opponent's hand so quickly with this deck. It felt really good that way. Something else, maybe, you know, you could play Hypnotize, but it's not a song. It does draw a card, but paying 3 ink to draw a card kind of feels bad. Obviously, if they have cards in their hand, they discard a card too, so you do truly plus off of it, which there's not a crazy amount of cards that truly plus in the game, right? Like this, you play a card to get rid of their card. This, you play a card and put a card in their inkwell. So you're actually kind of going negative on resource. How Far I'll Go pluses you. 1 Jump Ahead replaces itself. Develop Your Brain and Popsicle replace themselves. Popsicle, I guess, technically pluses you. I heard people tell me to play Nothing to Hide instead of Popsicle, but healing 2 damage actually comes up quite a bit, so I do like the Popsicle instead. Other cards that truly replace themselves. We have the How Far I'll Go. Gaston is a plus. Does anything else truly plus? Donald Duck pluses. Obviously your Diablo pluses. So like these are your cards that truly generate advantage. A lot of other cards though replace themselves, which can be almost as good, right? Like I guess Ursula pluses. I'm not going to count Bucky because he needs other cards to do it, but like Ursula pluses if you hit a card, I should say, to be specific. Other things, do we have characters that really Kit Cloud Kicker pluses? Like we said, 1 Jump, Develop, Popsicle, Bruno. Those cards like all replace themselves. So I mean, as far as like looking at advantage, I wanted when building the deck, I went through like so many changes. My group chat can probably attest. I think I sent like 6 different versions of the deck, and then I ended up playing something slightly different anyway. But these 6 cards are cards that actually plus you, and by that I mean if you look at like your in play, your inkwell, your hand, these are cards that when played you go up on your opponent because you get to keep this on board and add a card. You get to draw. So does your opponent, sure, but you're going to be discarding them. You get to draw. You get to look at 2. This card plus is good because it replaces itself and puts a card in your inkwell. Kit obviously bounces back to their hand, so I guess he kind of replaces. He doesn't truly plus, but he slows their tempo down. Ursula, obviously if you hit a song, so she's like a pseudo plus. So she hits a song, it feels really good. And then again, these cards all break even on advantage. So the majority of your deck is being able to plus or break even with interactions, and just essentially you're trying to not fall behind, right? So like if we look at cards that fall behind, Let It Go because you're spending 1 card to give them an ink, but it takes it off their board and it gets rid of a threat. So it's kind of needed, and in that regard, it's, you know, why you play it, because you need some type of out. Kit Cloud Kicker, your Cogsworth, your Aurora, your Flynn's, and your Olafs. Like these cards don't plus you, but they don't lose you advantage either. And if you have a Bucky though, they do plus you because then your opponent's discarding cards. So if you're playing them and your opponent, or you have Bucky, then these cards also plus you and give you advantage, which feels really good. And the last cards would be the Bucky and the Diablo. So again, Bucky pluses you if you have Floodborns to follow up, which usually you do. And then Diablo is just kind of needed to hit that turn 2 Diablo shift. And otherwise just seeing your opponent's hand can be really nice. So these are really the only 2 cards that have no way to plus you, and there's a big asterisk by Let It Go, because you could argue getting rid of a big threat pluses you in the long run. So truly, like, every card in the deck has a chance to plus you, whether it's turn 2 Diablo Shift, whether it's discard off Floodborns, whether it's pairing with Floodborns, whether it's getting rid of a threat, or like we said, all the other cards that actually have immediate advantage. Every card in the deck does something and has a purpose. Like I said, if you're going into Steel and you know it, try to get your Cogsworth. If you're going into Ruby and you know it, your Aurora, because this doesn't shut off their Be Prepareds, right? But if you can pair her and hold Ursula for Be Prepared later, it feels really good, in addition to discarding their hand down to try to make it where they can't Be Prepared you, because this turns off Brawl. It turns off Medusa. Lady Tremaine, it doesn't, but you can choose what you want to get rid of then. Same with Bee King Undisputed. It feels just really good there. Cogsworth too can be nice in the Ruby because of Maui at that point, but you also have things like Flynn and Diablo that are just evasive and they can't deal with them. But overall, I think the deck works really well. I think that it's difficult to pilot, and every matchup is different. Like I said, whether it's which of these 2 cards you want to go for. Do you want to try to hit the ramp package or the Bucky package early? There's a lot of thinking and play lines. Is it aggro, where you want to try to just hit like characters where like 1, 2, 3 to be able to start dealing with their cards and trading with them while surviving the attacks? Like every matchup plays differently. So the deck's, I think, difficult to play, and it catches your opponents off guard though. Like I said, sometimes aggro can definitely be an issue though. Other than that, I think it plays really well into the actual meta, and I wish I would have played it sooner because it felt really good, really clean. I definitely would have played it at some other set championships had I thought of it sooner. But we didn't, and it didn't end up mattering because we got our Ursula. We got it to go with our Stitch. Hopefully set 5, we can get our 3rd promo. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. What do you guys think about the decks? And by all means, feel free to test it and take it to other set championships while we still can, because set 4 is wrapping up. The Bucky nerf is coming, but the kids are yelling, I gotta go. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below.